This video recently came up on my recommended feed, and I wanted to check it out. Only 2 weeks ago, Matt Walsh sat down with Jillian Michaels to have a conversation about same-sex marriage. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the only reason I even know the name Jillian Michaels is because I remember as a kid, my mom had like workout videos by Jillian Michaels. That's literally the last time I'd heard of her. I never heard of her since then. And now all of a sudden this just like popped up on my recommended, and she's sitting down here talking with Matt Walsh about gay marriage.
But I've looked up the definition of marriage. I don't see it say. I mean, I got Wiki. I went to the well on this one. Merriam-Webster. Like, what am I missing? So Merriam-Webster.
What does Webster say?
The state of being united as spouses in a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by law. Like, what am I missing about? Because I've heard you get very deep into the definition. It's a procreative union. But then you also get into the conversation of what about married couples that don't have kids? Like, tell me what's the deep offense? I just want to understand it because.
Well, here's what I would say.
So the first thing I will say before we even let Matt Walsh respond is I like her approach. I like that she's kind of got the like, who cares approach. She's not getting super technical and really entertaining his arguments that much. She's just kind of like, who cares? What's the big deal? I can't see it. I don't see what you mean. Obviously, anybody claiming that marriage only exists for procreation is a f***ing idiot. That is not why marriage exists. That's not the only reason why marriage exists. And there are plenty of legitimate marriages that exist that don't procreate.
You said, well, how does
Is it religious?
Well, it's part of my faith. I don't deny that. I also think that what I'm saying, even if I didn't have a deep Christian faith, my stance on marriage and the family, I think, would probably be the same. Now, it's impossible to say that because you take my faith away from me, I'm a totally different person, so who knows what I would say. So your question was, well, how does someone have a gay couple, how does that impact my family? And the answer is that an individual, so you, for example.
Take me.
Right. You individually don't have any impact on me or on my family, obviously. We're not walking around.
Oh, okay, so I guess she herself is lesbian? Okay, well, that makes things even a little bit more interesting. Why does Matt Walsh get so, like, he struggles so much with these questions? Every time he's confronted on this, it's like, it feels like he's not able to say the real reason why or something. We're
not walking around every day. We don't like get up in the morning and we're like, oh man, Jillian Michaels we can't
get married.
Can't make breakfast this morning because it's not, that's of course not what's happening, and I would never claim that. The issue is it's a societal. It's an issue in society. It's a societal wide issue that when a society abandons what has always been recognized as the definition and meaning and purpose of the marital union, when they abandon what marriage.
No, not true. Wrong. Is he forgetting that there was a long-standing time in which marriage was done for a practical purpose? Remember where they would marry off their daughters to make peace amongst kingdoms and whatnot? Marriage has not always been for procreation. And even if it had always been for procreation, it doesn't mean it still needs to be. That would then be the genetic fallacy, which is just saying that, well, because this thing originally meant this, it must stay this way. That's bullshit. So not only is he engaged in a logical fallacy by saying, well, things have always been this way, he's also just wrong because things have not always been this way. Not at all. Marriage existed for so many different reasons outside of just procreation. Lastly, he says, well, when a society abandons these things, yeah, so what? Society abandoning this rigid expectation that in order to be married, you must be one man, one woman with the intent of having children. Letting gay people get married, that actually does better for society. Gay people are more likely to adopt. People are able to live their lives healthy, happy, freely, living with more autonomy. pursuing their own happiness unhindered by the government or Matt Walsh and his delusional religious bullshit.
That has vast implications for society. And
Then because I'm saying,
Because, Matt, you're deciding what marriage is arbitrarily.
everything I find is matrimony or wedlock, culturally, often legally recognized union between two people called spouses. It establishes rights and obligations between them, as well as them and their children, if any, between them and their in-laws. What is the definition that you have that's outside of what's in the dictionary? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to understand. Is it religious? And then which religion? Because there's different definitions of marriage per polygamy, this common law marriage, group marriage. I mean, that's...
because marriage codifies, protects, sanctifies the inherently procreative union of a man and a woman.
Wrong.
Okay, but
And
that's for you, though.
it's first of all, it's not just for me. It's for
So that's not the dictionary definition at all. It has nothing to do with procreation. Now, you're arbitrarily inserting the part about procreation in, even though that's not the definition. And now you're still saying, well, no, but it could be the definition for some people. Okay, so what?
First of all, it's not just for me. It's for society since the dawn of human civilization until approximately 15 seconds ago. So it's not just me.
Marriage does not only exist for procreation. It has literally existed specifically for a legal purpose previously. No, marriage is not only for procreation, and its purposes vary across cultures and religions. Christianity, some believe that marriage has three primary purposes: companionship, procreation, and redemption. However, others believe that marriage is about love and personal transformation, and that it's not morally wrong for married couples to not have children.
And there's something very real here. Like, this is the way I've tried to explain it.
It's just listening to him. He's like, hold on, I have a very real argument. I've got to get to it. Hold on a minute. Like, get to the point, Porky Pig.
That, let's say society were to come crumbling down around us, and we wake up amid the ashes with no memory of anything that happened before, and we're rebuilding from scratch. It's like fundamentally from the ground up. We have to rebuild everything, right?
What?
And we look around and we see like the survivors, the people, and we see that they kind of have a tendency to pair up, and we see that there's this one pairing that has this funny habit of creating people.
So just if there's this one pattern where if a male and female are together, they can procreate, that does not mean that the reason that they must be together is to therefore procreate. It could just mean that they have the ability to do that thing. It does not necessarily mean that they are morally required to do that thing.
I think we would say, well, that's different. This is a different kind of thing because it's different from these other relationships because it has this capacity that no other.
But we also now have a legal aspect to marriage, right? So like, it carries with it legal expectations and legal responsibilities as well.
And that capacity is not. It's not a small thing. It's not incidental. It's not. It's not superficial. I mean, it creates people. In fact, the further existence
Sex creates people.
Right,
I mean,
sex between a man and a
one
woman.
night stand can create a person.
Right.
I would say a marriage.
Yes, but
There's more to it than that, exactly. That's Jillian Michaels is responding with a good point here as well. There's a lot more to it. Like, people can literally get drunk and accidentally make a baby. So to act as though this is like some sacred thing that only can happen between a union and a man and a woman is stupid. There's a pattern of people feeling loving feelings towards other people, and then if that person feels the same way, there's patterns of those two people being together in a monogamous relationship. There's a long-standing pattern of that. Why can't we use that as the long-standing pattern to establish marriage?
I would say a marriage
Yes, but all,
nurtures a child in a loving marriage with kids. You're there to love them. You're there to guide them. I can teach my son
Right,
how
and
to
that-
take risks, although I do appreciate the necessity of a father's role. And that is a huge thing.
I would actually even reject that. I completely reject this notion that it's a necessity for them there to be a father and a mother. That is not true at all. It's really just best for kids to have two parents. Two parents in a stable, loving, healthy relationship tends to be the best environment for kids. That could be two men, two women, a man and a woman. But anytime someone says, like, it's a necessity for the man and the woman, the masculinity and the femininity and all that, that's just nonsense.
I don't disagree with you on that. I'm not trying to take that away from you. But two idiots having a one-night stand can have a baby.
Sure, and that exactly, and that I think only proves my point that this union, this coupling of a man and a woman, is loaded with implications and with a power that no other type of relationship. Let me finish.
Yeah, you're right.
No other type of relationship has.
Sure.
And so I think it makes sense for society to say, well, this is a different kind of thing. And this is frankly more important than any of these other kinds of relationships because of the power that it has.
So a heterosexual relationship has the power to make a baby. And so because of that, we should give that couple, that union, like more special treatment. They already have that, Matt. It's called getting married. And then if you have kids, you get tax breaks.
And so we are going to call that something else, and we are going to protect it in a way that we don't protect other relationships because those other relationships do not have this capacity. And for thousands of years of human history.
But what about the capacity of a union to raise a child? Could that be taken into consideration? What about the power of a union to be able to even raise a child into a healthy, upstanding citizen? Why is it just that, well, they created the baby? There's already a ton of kids in foster care, okay? There's already a little too many straight people making babies. Thankfully, gay people are far more likely to adopt those orphaned kids in the foster care system.
That's what marriage did. That was the point of marriage. It was to codify and protect the inherently and uniquely procreative union of a man and a woman.
First of all, no, it wasn't. Second of all, again, an appeal to tradition. Let's look it up. An appeal to tradition means to ignore the evidence that we should change because we have been doing something for a long time. Yeah, well, we've always been doing it this way. Okay, so for a long time, we were always doing slavery. Then things were different, and we realized that things could be and should be better. Even if the tradition has been or used to be, we must uphold and respect the man and woman getting married because they can have kids. It doesn't mean it needs to stay that way, because now by respecting gay people's ability to get married, they are able to live healthier, happier lives and are therefore more likely to adopt kids, and kids adopted and raised by gay couples do just as well, if not better, than kids raised by straight couples. So there is no fucking argument here as to why gay couples getting married should be restricted. So long as it's legal, they're adults, and it's consensual, I see no problem.
A union that by its nature can procreate. Although of course we know that there are plenty of cases where they don't.
They don't have kids, right?
Right.
And
But-
I would say that it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, of course, the other side of it. And I'm sure, I have a guess, okay? I bet that Matt Walsh is going to say that he's going to make an exception for the straight couple because they originally would have had that function, but, something happened that now they're not able to. Gay couples never even had that function. That's my guess, is he's going to go through some kind of weird mental gymnastics to try and justify this.
And I would say that it's not marriage that makes a baby. It's sex between a man and a woman that makes a baby. And
Yeah,
anybody
marriage
can
doesn't
do
make a
that,
baby. Right, you're right.
married or not. And
Marriage is there to protect and solidify that family for when the baby is created. Of course, the marriage
No, it's not. That's not what it's meant for, dude. Literally, it was only a few hundred years ago that the nuclear family even became a fucking thing, bro. For a long time, kids were raised by the entire villages, the entire towns. They would all get together and raise the babies. Communal parenting. It was a very common thing. And if you want to appeal to tradition, Matt, that's how things also used to be.
But the marriage is there, very much there for the baby.
But then why would you deny children in a gay family to have those protections? Because there are tons of them. There are over 1,100 rights that come with marriage. I'm a tax-paying American.
Based.
Why would I be denied that? I mean, the list is like insane.
I like how it's just like, I like how Matt Walsh can get just rolled in a fucking conversation. And that's all it is a conversation. It's not even really a debate. This is just her like, yeah, but like if those protections exist to keep that family unit intact so that it's the best environment for the kids, why shouldn't those protections also be in place for gay couples who have kids?
Everything from making spousal medical decisions, being able to jointly adopt a kid, joint filing of taxes. I mean, the list is so long. Property tax exemptions, it's 1,100. And these are things that I do want to be able to protect my wife when I die, to pass our things on to her, for her to be able to visit me whenever, if I'm sick, for her to be able to say DNR if I'm dying, and vice versa. And then there's all kinds of things that protect kids. Like, what if I was a scumbag and I don't want to pay for the 2 kids that I had from my previous relationship? Like, I legally have to do that. Well, if we were married, I did not marry this woman, but I protect my kids. But imagine if I was a scumbag, if we were married, there's laws that I have to take care of them. And if she said, well, the boy child's mine, I would have no right to the child if I didn't have the rights that are provided. She could take my son and boogie.
Exactly. See, that's another really good point, that like marriage literally provides with it so many legal protections and benefits and whatnot. It's so much bigger than just, oh, well, you better have a baby together, herder. And even what she's bringing up here, like, hey, I was in past relationships where we adopted kids and whatnot, and if we didn't have these marriage-related protections, then my ex could have just taken my kids. They could have just been out of there. These protections are very, very important because they make sure, yes, that the kids are ultimately going to be taken care of as well.
There's so many protections that this provides for the kids and for people who love each other that I can't understand. I get why you feel like, hey, you're threatening what I have that's special. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. And I wish there was a way for me to make you not feel diminished.
It's not you threatening, it's the societal recognition of it as a marriage. They're trying to equate it with what I would consider to be true marriage. That becomes...
And again, what you would consider, you're making it up. You're just deciding that that's the true definition. Okay? Here you go. The true definition of Neanderthal is Matt Walsh. So when people go around calling just random dumb fucks Neanderthals, I think it's very offensive because that's not what that truly means. It means Matt Walsh. See, Matt, I can do it too.
The threat, if you will, if that's the language you want to use.
I don't know. That's how I'm interpreting it from you, is that it feels like a threat to the things that you hold dear. And it feels like, where does it stop? I'm interpreting how I think you feel, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it is, because the institution of the family, is the better.
How is the institution of the family, before you go on your big virtue signaling spiel about how it's the bedrock of the country and all this bullshit, before you go on that, how is the institution of the family being threatened by gay people existing? Gay people are able to adopt. They can have families too. That institution of families can continue on and include gay people also. Why does it need to exclude them, Matt? Just because it always was like that? Are you going to exclude black people from your water fountains? No, of course not. But it used to always be like that. Sometimes things change.
The institution of the family is the bedrock of human civilization. Marriage is the bedrock of the family. And so anything that threatens...
Gay people can have families, and it's gay people existing and having families are not threatening straight people from existing and having families.
the family, yes, it does. It threatens the things I hold dear because I hold civilization dear. And so in that sense, yes.
But you're talking, okay, now you're talking, we're
Wait,
talking,
wait, what? If you care about civilization, then doesn't it follow that you care about people and society right here, right now? Wouldn't it logically follow that, say, kids in the foster care system, if they're raised in the foster care system, probably are not going to grow up to be great members of society. They're probably not going to grow up to have really great, upstanding and stable families. They're probably less likely to reproduce and have kids and all the shit that Matt Walsh thinks is important. So Matt, for you to say that you care about our civilization and that's why you want to restrict gay marriage makes no fucking sense. If you care about our civilization and then you want to restrict gay marriage, that means more kids left to grow up in the foster care system. And you know what that means? More drug use, more criminal behavior, and less positive outcomes for our overall civilization and society.
but you're talking, okay, now you're talking, we're talking, if we get into the conversation of like a hierarchy of family, right? And sure, I'm not going to be the one who's going to disagree with you that in a perfect world, and people can get pissed all they want. In a perfect world, kid would have a mom and a dad. I understand how important those two roles are. Trust me.
They're really not very important. And if they were, then you would see a significant difference between kids raised by two moms, two dads, and then kids raised by a mom and a dad. You would see significant differences there, but you don't. They do just as well psychologically, likelihood of using drugs, academically, etc.
Arguably, I was like, I don't, I wanted to adopt a child. My ex wanted to have one. I don't want to take that away from her. I'm not sorry. Kids, both of them are the apple of my eye. That said, it was of deep concern to have a boy without a father. I don't disagree at all. And have a brother who's a very dear friend of the family that's been a father figure. Is it a father? No. However, if we get into the hierarchy of it, what about the dad that never showed up? What about the dad that took off? What about the dad that was an alcoholic? Well, I know.
Exactly. So that's another thing too. It's like gay couples with kids. It's not like they walked up to a straight couple and like stole their child. There are currently over 100,000 kids that don't have a mom or a dad in the foster care system. So therefore, what's better? A kid growing up being an orphan in the foster care system, or a kid growing up in a household where there are two loving parents that are financially stable and give that kid a proper upbringing?
I didn't have a super duper dad. It's better now, but I know a lot of people. Like I was just this morning with Brigham Bueller, who is just a great guy. I'm not sure if you know him. He's on Rogan all the time. Foster kid. And I was talking about speaking with you. He's like, well, love is the most important thing. I was like, I would say that. That would be my argument because from a hierarchical perspective, I'll give you the top of the mountain. But then I think love, and that would be, a marriage without love, I think you lose too. So if you said man, woman, love, I would go, well, yes, I'm with you, number one. But when in the world are you getting this unicorn society? Like, your house might be that, and that's wonderful. But I would tell you, I don't think the majority are. And I think providing kids with love and structure is the most important thing if you don't have this perfect scenario. And allowing gay parents to get married is so much better for the psychology of their children. And I think it's a fantasy world to think they won't have kids.
Well, they won't have kids. That's part of it.
She's really appealing to like his empathy a little bit here, and I like that. And yes, I turned the speed up.
No, my ex had a kid.
But in a gay relationship, you're not going to have kids in the sense that a man and woman create kids.
True,
right?
but she created a kid with a
Right.
friend of the
And
family.
I don't think you're correct.
You can do IVF. I think in that case, it sounds like Jillian Michaels is getting an IVF there. And in that case, again, that is a thing. Does that count, Matt?
That in so many scenarios, this ideal that I'm talking about is not realized. I mean, we just talked about the black community, 70%, 80% fellows rate. White community, like I said, I think it's 30 or 40%. It's rising. It's a crisis in its own right. I think the way to address that is not to just give up on the concept of marriage and family as it's been understood for thousands of years.
thousands
but
of years. Like,
No
where-
one's giving up on it, though. What are you talking about? We're literally just including more people in it. It's actually unironically like that quote that I used to think was cringy, but now I'm thinking it's really applicable here. To those in privilege, equality will feel like discrimination. And that's kind of what Matt Walsh is doing here. Oh, my marriage is under attack. Oh, why are we going to give up on marriage? No one's giving up on marriage, you fucking retard. We're talking about extending marriage so that more people can actually be included in it.
thousands of years. Like, where
But
was it?
to solidify and protect what we have, and I mean, it has been thousands of years.
Men have had numerous wives too in different cultures. Like, if you go, what book are we talking about? And forgive me, I'm not well versed on different religions because my parents.
Polygamy has.
Didn't Abraham, Sarah had numerous wives, and then hence the reason you had like Ishmael and Israel and all this chaos because there were numerous wives.
Yeah, you'll find historically.
I'm an idiot on this stuff.
Yes. Polygamous relationships were incredibly common throughout the Bible and throughout different cultures and whatnot as well. So why is Matt Walsh not, or why is Matt Walsh now against polygamy? It's always been like this.
Okay.
Well, here's what I'll say. You'll find historically that polygamy has been, there have been cultures that practice polygamy. Even now today, you'll find that. But, and I'm certainly not a polygamist myself, and I don't condone it.
Might be missing out.
No, I don't think I'm quite happy. But,
I'm kidding.
but here's the point: that those marriages were still fundamentally procreative, and so it was still the recognition of this basic deep truth that I'm talking about, even in societies that practice polygamy. In fact, for them, procreation was so much the point that that's part of the reason why they had polygamy, was so they could create even more kids. If you go back far enough in time into human history, when there weren't that many people on Earth,
Why be married if it's all about having kids?
Right, I mean, well, you could argue, if you go back far enough in history, you could argue that that way back when that polygamy served a purpose and like populating the Earth, and we don't. So but it's always been that.
Oh, he was almost going to say like, and now, but we don't need to do that anymore. But then he was like, oh shit, oops, because he realized that if he said that, that would also mean that we don't really need straight people just pumping out babies all day. Also,
fundamental purpose. There has never been a society until ours right now that has said, well, actually, marriage has nothing to do with procreation at all. That society has never existed, unless you can think of an example.
No, there's rights that pertain to the kids, but
if you can go back far enough in history, I'd love to see. Okay, well, luckily for you, Matt, I went back and found something again. Royal intermarriage is when members of ruling families marry into other reigning families. And right here, studies found that it tended to reduce the likelihood of war. So it was not serving a purpose of procreation. And it was incredibly common. Yeah, marriage between dynasties could serve to initiate, reinforce, or guarantee peace between nations. Alternatively, kinship by marriage could secure an alliance between two dynasties, which sought to reduce the sense of threat from or to initiate aggression against the realm of a third dynasty. So there you go, Matt. There is a time in history in which marriage had nothing to do at all with procreation.
Well, I mean, you'd have tough individual situations like that. I don't deny it. And when you allow for the institution of marriage to be essentially disbanded, as it has been in this country,
it's not.
See that, Matt?
Any effort to
I don't see that allowing people to be a part of something that is special. I don't see how that disbands it.
how would you define marriage?
Yo, she literally just said what I said. Exactly. They're not disbanding it or something or taking a bunch of stuff apart. They're adding people to it. They're making it more inclusive.
I mean, I would go with these literal definitions. So, the state of being united as spouses in a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by law. That is literally how I define it. It also called matrimony or wedlock, culturally and often legally recognized union between two people called spouses. And yes, I know historically the spouses were man and woman, but it establishes rights and obligations between them, as well as between them and their children.
Do you recognize at least that removing the family, removing the creation of children from the definition entirely?
Okay, so there you go. The original definition of marriage in 1706 was more about children. However, by 1730, they removed the lawful begetting of children part. And then by 1755, Johnson defined marriage as the act of uniting a man and woman for life. In 1828, Webster defined marriage as a civil and religious contract between two people who would live together in fidelity and affection until death. Since 1730, Matt Walsh is trying to say gays are undermining the institution of marriage. They're taking out the having kids from the definition. Oh, boo. No, dude. Okay, apparently everybody went woke back in 1730.
It means you have a definition there that is, would you at least recognize that it is that it is unprecedented in the history of human civilization?
No, it's not unprecedented. It's literally 1730, 1755, 1828. It's not unprecedented, dude. You're just uneducated.
I don't know. I know that there's been homosexuality throughout history. I would presume to. I guess so. I've done zero homework on this, so if somebody knows better than me, please leave it in the comments. But at the same time, women were getting, slavery was legal. Like, there's a lot of things we had to evolve out of. So, if we dive
but I don't think marriage was one of those things.
But marriage has
no one's saying that. Oh my God.
The foundation of human civilization. Slavery and are not.
Okay, but your definition, and this is where I guess we would have to agree to disagree, is your definition is copulation. To me, that's copulation. Marriage is this. And so to me, it's about protecting.
That's not the entire definition.
Of marriage? Or of making a...
That is a procreation, I'd prefer to say, is not the entire definition of marriage, but it is an essential component of what marriage is.
What about people that don't have kids, that are married? I don't see you going after their marriage. Or are you? I mean, did I miss it?
No, I certainly wouldn't, because that does not challenge.
Here we go. I guarantee you, he's gonna say exactly what I said.
That does not challenge the inherent nature of the thing. So you could have couples that.
But you're saying the inherent nature is procreation.
Right.
What if they're not procreating?
Right, and there are. It's like I could say that it's natural. It's in our nature for a human being to be born with two legs. There are humans that are born without them. That doesn't mean they're not human, but there's something has gone wrong, and so they were not able to fully participate in that aspect of being a human.
I literally called it. I told you. No, it's just they would have had that functionality, and now they don't. Again, so what? They still then do not meet the inherent purpose of marriage, according to you, Matt. So why is it okay, but then a problem when it's gay people?
I would say that one of the the nature of marriage is procreative, and even though you have men and women who get together and turns out they can't have kids, tragically, it doesn't challenge the nature of marriage.
They not want to have kids. Do they get their rights stripped away? And also, I would simply say, being a person of faith, obviously you believe in God, why would God create something that is not okay?
There's also an evolutionary basis behind homosexual behavior and whatnot. So even the argument that God created it, but it's wrong or something, doesn't make any sense.
Somehow, unless if you're an atheist or you're agnostic, then maybe you could say this is a freak show. But if you believe in God, why would he, she, whatever? Did you have that?
Let's do he.
Let's do God. So we don't get into too much trouble. God, because I say she, you'll say he. Let's settle on God. I'm actually genderless with my God. Okay, moving on, Jill. Point being, why would God allow for gay people to exist?
Are you Christian?
I'm totally agnostic. I would.
Oh no. Oh, he's not gonna take kindly to that kind of blasphemy. Don't you misgender God. You better respect God's pronouns, okay? Because I tell you this, if you have your pronouns in your bio, you're a dumb loser. But if you so much as even consider misgendering God, then you will be speaking to me.
Gay people, a lot of us are just born this way. And to be honest with you, I grew up very homophobic. And I would have taken any other path, Matt, trust me, for how unpopular that may sound.
This is also a different conversation from
gay families. I know.
From marriage.
Yes, it is. Because I've interpreted it as a segue into God would want you to reject it. And I would tell you that I think people would be so miserable who are genetically, whatever it may be. I think there's a genetic component for sure, because it's not really something you can, at least for me.
I mean, there is a genetic predisposition.
And everybody I know, it's not a choice. It's, and also I think there's more harm done by rejecting who you are than being who you are. Whereas if you're in a marriage and you cheat, I don't see anything good coming out of that. Mm-hmm. If you're unhappy, I would say you've outgrown the marriage. That's unfortunate. I understand you would fight for it. I think people can grow apart. I would say maybe this isn't the marriage for you. Personally,
So basically, Matt Walsh has a made up, whimsical definition of marriage that includes procreation, even though procreation has not been included in the definition of marriage since 1730. But still, Matt Walsh is insisting that this is the definition of marriage. He's pretty much just made it up. He's offered 0 good points, and this entire conversation for him was fucking embarrassing. I like that Jillian Michaels was able to just be like, who cares? But I don't really see that. But that's not what the definition says. Very laid back and chill, and Matt was just, just choking all over himself. If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member today. Members get early access to videos, access to all the stream VODs, and exclusive access to emotes as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, become a member today.